We got to break Cereba up. Cereba is a cartel. We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Word of Mouth. And obviously, I'm pleased to be here on 2 consecutive days. In other words, meaning that we're slowly drifting back towards the normalcy of broadcasting live here in the studio. Obviously, I will only be broadcasting from remote locations when we're experiencing technical difficulties or if I'm traveling. And I will be traveling in the very, very near future. For the boat racing team, obviously, I'll be on. But yeah, always good to be, able to broadcast live from the studio because I know there's a lot of people who depend on watching the show live here on Facebook. Now that we have the YouTube channel back up and running. I think we can reach a wider audience like we did in the very beginning because we had both networks up and running. And now that we have the YouTube channel back up and running, we'll post back the link on our page in the comment section in a few minutes, probably after about 10-15 minutes of broadcasting. We'll repost the link on the comment section so people who know other people who don't have Facebook, because not everybody got Facebook, believe it or not, they'll be able to share the link. But yeah, even I know as a lot of people are struggling because it seems as if they don't get the alerts whenever we go live. Because normally what happens when you go live, people who follow the page, who's following Word of Mouth, it'll pop up if they're online or if they on their net, if they're on social media, it'll pop up saying Word of Mouth is live now. So I'm not 100% sure why most people who used to get the alerts don't get them anymore, and maybe it's just something to do with the system itself. I don't know. I know that I get the alerts, a good 15 minutes after the fact. So I'm not sure, why that is. But anyway, I'm not a huge fan of digital technology in regards to overcommitting myself to it because you get lost in translation very easily. But yeah, there's a couple of things. But good morning to everybody, and as I mentioned, there are a couple of things that I want to go over. But again, as I always do before I start the show, I just want to send well wishes and condolences to all the family members that have lost loved ones over the past couple of weeks, and just recently, there is and a lot of the situations are unexpected, which means it's a lot harder to deal with when it's unexpected. So again, my condolences to everybody. I was just reading a headline that stated that we already have 12 road fatalities for the year of 2022 already. That's an alarming number. And yes, there are some things we can't control, but we can just try to be as safe as we can on the roads, be very cautious and mindful and considerate of everybody. We know we got a lot of bicycle riders, a lot of motorcycle riders, a lot of people who deliver food in smaller vehicles and mopeds, whatever. We just need to be very cautious and mindful of everybody on the road and considerate. And hopefully we can try to, take a nosedive in the spiking numbers of road fatalities. The most recent one was a young lady, 20 years old. 20 years old. Life just started. So again, that's very unfortunate that. So yeah, there are a few things that I know is floating through the public right now in terms of um, cost of living, whatnot. Did our internet go out? All right, just making sure. We had some internet issues on Friday and Monday. We got C3 to come in. They came in immediately. So I just want to say thank you to the guys that came out. I wish I remembered their name. I could give them a nice shout out, but some people don't like their name being called either. So yeah, I just want to thank the three guys that came out here from C3. I want to thank Jasmine over at C3 for arranging it and putting it in the queue. They changed the modem, and let's see. Let's just see, um, if we can get the show running without any incident. But technology, I mean, it's like everything else, right? It's not perfect. So, but yeah, so CUC. I mean, I can't help but call that name because everybody else calling it. Um, what I will share with the public, and I want the public to understand and really think into what I'm saying. In order for your light bill to double, in order for your light bill to double, there has to be a logical reason for it. And if your light bill double, that would suggest that you're doing something twice as much as you normally do. Now, we know that you don't have another house identical to yours plugged into the same meter, burning the same exact thing. So we know that's not a problem. Obviously, we've been conditioned over the last couple of months to lead that would have led us to believe that it would have been the fuel cost. Now, if your fuel consumption has doubled, something is greatly wrong because the cost of fuel has it doubled? For our bills being doubled in cost, then something had to change that could logically explain why it is, right? So I will share this. Uh, just 1 second. Let me just respond to a person that tried calling me because I want to be, you know, considerate of everybody's time. And I'll just do this. I shouldn't be doing this on air, but I'm just telling them sorry I'm on air. So yeah, the issue with CUC, and when I say the issue, meaning the concerns that are raised over the last month of people's light bill doubling in some cases, a little higher than double. And when you look at your breakdown on your bill, it seems like the fuel is the culprit. Now, let's just be very clear on something. The price And the camera is on. I don't see anything on my screen, but yeah, okay. All right. So yeah, we were having a little issues um, with the internet again. So I just wanted to make sure that everything was good. Anyway, what I would like to just say is that when we look at the issues that we're experiencing with the tremendous increase with our light bills, it's I mean, for our bills to double, there has to be a significant problem and has to be a significant change in this bill cycling and on why they, if you telling, because I don't think people are burning more electricity. No. So when you ask people to conserve and they bill still double, it's kind of punch in the gut. It is. I mean, truth be told, they something need to be done, and it's not the first time that the bill cycle went to a point where it quadrupled, or it went double. I can tell you because, and I can tell you this without any fear of contradiction, because I got a copy of an agreement that they made me sign, not to disclose the information. So for its clientele to increase. We didn't put NAU in place because we were looking more customers. We put NAU in place is because we needed a sovereignty safety net to help our struggling class people. So if we're not actively working on reducing the clientele at NAU, then we're not actively working on creating a sustainable environment for all our people. We're not. So if there's ever been a measuring stick to failure, it's been the statistical increase and monitoring of NAU. Needs assessment unit is a key place to start to identify the reality that we fail in. We're failing. If you look at the membership, and I use the term membership simply because I don't want to be derogatory. If you look at the membership of NAU and its increase in membership over the past 10 years, if no government has been able to reasonably sit down, assess the issues, and prioritize them. First, you got to prioritize them. Then you go out and you seek the resources in order to apply whatever solutions you have come with that could probably help the situation. The thing is that we've allowed every single fundamental issue in this country to become a political football, and we've allowed it to be a political football simply because one, either we don't have enough energy to pay attention or to go out and fight the cause, or two, we put too much faith in politicians who have given us their glossy manifestos and promises, hollowed promises, and nothing gets done. So for me, obviously, there is an issue. There is a huge issue because if we have a growing number of people in an area in which we know is a social program that needs the financial resources, and not only that, the manpower to, we have a problem. So allocating money from one budget to put in another budget in order to sort out another issue, that's robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's kicking the can down the road. It's not helping the situation. So I see a headline where Mr. Saunders said, and let me quote him, just so we be clear. I think this is the longest our internet has ran. Not jinxing it, knock on wood. Let's quote the comment. It says, safety net needed to improve national. And what this safety net is. Because if it's another social program, we're doomed. We're doomed. It says the Cayman Islands needs to invest in a social safety net and policies to improve the gross national happiness, Deputy Premier and Finance Minister Chris Saunders has said. Of the 6 metrics that drive the country's happiness levels used by the United Nations for its World Happiness Report, the one that counts the most is social support. Someone to count on in case of an emergency, he said at the recent press briefing, but he estimates that 95% of all who are brave enough to implement the solutions so that that period of waiting is a process of it taking effect, so then we can ultimately realize the benefits. But we don't we always find ourselves on this treadmill, on this durable circle of conversations about the same issues over and over and over and over and over. How long we've been talking about the cost of living? How long they know that the fuel factor is the main drive of cost of living? How long they've known this? They've known this. Listen, half of the Chris Saunders, Kenneth Bryan, Mr. J, and all these people who are on the younger end of the spectrum, half of these people were in school when we were talking about the cost of living. So I don't understand why all of a sudden now the cost of living is some sort of magic bullet who just hit them and like, oh wait, there's a problem with cost of living. There's always been a problem with cost of living. Cost of living has always been an issue here in the Cayman Islands. Always. The problem is that now we're starting to see the systematic failure of government's ability to do anything about it. And now we're starting to see the direct effects of the long-term abuse of cost of living has caused on a great number of people in this country. I'm sorry, I don't care what nobody want to say. Because somebody asks you to lend them $100 don't mean that they're lazy or they don't want to work or whatever the case is, When somebody's outside the grocery store, and I can tell you this. When somebody's outside the grocery store asking you for money, we got a problem. Yes, is that something that happened? Is that something that happened around the world and everywhere? Yeah, it does. It really do. But you know what? The next time you go into a grocery store and you see a person asking you for money, stop. Look that person in the face. Take a good look at that person. And maybe if you have the time or the consideration, I should say, because most people have the time, they just don't have the consideration. Ask the person what their situation is. If you take the time to understand their situation a little better, maybe you grow a conscience. And I'm not saying that stopping to ask them their situation and finding out what really happened is going to put you in a better position to help them, But it mentally puts you in a position to know exactly what's transpiring in our social landscape and what's really taking place. Because a lot of people have swallowed their pride to go stand up by the door of a supermarket so that they can ask somebody for a little bit of help. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to do that. So why politicians can't grow enough courage to try to fix that? I don't understand it. It's not about job creation. It's not about resources. We are mismanaging our resources, and we have unleashed the ability of participation in any institution in this country upon everybody here. And when you look at the environment that we currently live in, I can tell you, I know some people that I've seen asking for help that at one point I thought about asking them for help. So I can tell you, there's a change, and not for the better. So we can get up and say anything we want about national pride and national safety and national happiness. Let me tell you something. Talk is cheap. Cheap. There's too many situations where we've overemphasized what the problem is and we have undermined implementing the solutions. We found so many technicalities to apply the solution because we've only talked about the problem simply because we want to be seen. I'm talking about politicians specifically. We want to be seen as understanding the lay of the land. Oh, well, we know that that's a problem. We're working on it. The favorite thing they can say, the best thing they can say anytime they see a concerned citizen address them about a problem, oh, we're working on that. Something coming. Something coming? Well, I can tell you one thing. She's been coming for 50 years and she's not reached yet. So at the end of the day, we need We need to start looking after our people better. Listen, people who out there that are genuinely struggling, they don't want to go ask nobody for help. They rather work. The other day I was going into Hurley's, and I spoke to a gentleman that I speak to every day that I go there, that I see him. And I call no names because I know some people are sensitive with names, and I respect people privacy of who they are. And I said hello to the gentleman, and he said, "Boy, Mario, I hadn't seen you in so long, man. I was worried." I said, "No, I had to travel you know, for a couple of weeks, so but I'm back now." And he was sitting next to two ladies, sitting with two ladies. And when he called my name, the lady said to him, "Oh, that's Mario Rankin." And he said, "Yeah, yeah." And then she called me over, and me and her started to talk. And she told me she was sitting on that bench all day. I said, "Well, what happened?" She said, "Well, she didn't have the money to pay for her medicine, for her medication. The pharmacy right down, two, three stores down. But she had to resort to coming to the supermarket complex, sitting on the bench, and praying that somebody would be kind enough to at least take the time to stop and ask her what the situation is and to help her." So I asked her, I said, well, what do you need for your medication? And she told me. And I gave her what she needed. I gave her right then. I said, "Okay, well, this is all I got. And thank God what you need, why God is enough." And I gave it to her, and she went and got her medication. But I only say that to say this, that if hadn't I stopped to go over and have the conversation with that lady, she might have stayed there all day and didn't get no help. I don't know. Or she may have gotten help too. But at the end of the day, I took the time to stop. So it's not about whether somebody lays in begging all the time. No, if you don't know, don't judge. Do we have people? Do we have people who just lays and don't want to work? Yeah, everybody else, everywhere in the world are those people. But if we have to assume, if we have to assume every person that asking for something is doing it maliciously, then we need to check ourselves. And that's just what I'm saying. So I only say all of that to say, look, sometimes we need to be our brothers and sisters keeper. Sometimes we need to, because let me tell you something. And I said this many times. For those of you who watch me all the time, you would have heard me say this already. I remember as a young person, I was listening to Radio Cayman. I think it was Val Lichinson as the host back then. How long ago it was. And Mr. Walsham Conley was on the radio. Walsham Conley used to be in charge of the prison. He used to be the prison warden at the time. Or maybe he had retired at that point. I can't remember. But anyway, Mr. Walsham Conley was on Radio Cayman. I was listening to it. And Mr. Val Lichinson was the host. And they were talking about all sorts of things. And one thing that stuck out to me, he said, Val, he said, what I learned in life is that you never forget the phase that you pass on that ladder on the way up. He said, because let me tell you, one day that might be the same phase you pass on the way down. And you may need that person to reach out and give you a hand from going down. So that settled with me. And it's been over 20 odd years since I've heard that. And I can tell you that is just as fresh in my mind as it's ever been. The thing is that how do we genuinely help someone without judging them? And that is simply just understanding that it is something you do from the goodness within. That's just how it is. And let me tell you something. We always hear that it's always better to give than to receive, because if you can give, you're obviously in a better position than the person who's receiving. That too is a very profound statement. So at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we don't have thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in this position. We got a couple hundred at best, maybe 1,000 or two at best. So why is it that we can't conceivably create a sustainable environment that creates proper sovereignties that take care of our people. And I ain't talking about a pile of money to say, oh, well, let me subsidize your light bill, let me buy your groceries. Yes, people in our society genuinely needs that help, and they should be given that help. But we need to start implementing, changing things that are creating hindrances that are preventing people from actually participating in the workforce. And I'm sorry for who get offended. I'm sorry. I know a few people, and one person in particular. And again, like I said, I don't call names. I've never once called that person and say, "Hey, I got a little thing for you to do. You want to come work and make a little money?" Yeah, bro, I come in, and it don't matter what it is. Listen, that person willing to work. Now, why is it somebody that is so willing to work can't get no work? Because we've been belabeled with this synopsis that we lazy and don't want to work for jobs that beneath us. That's not true. That's not true. Our entire history is based on something contrary to that belief. Tell you that right now. We need to take a strong look at the fundamental issues that are affecting our people, and we need to fix them. And the problem is that we know what the fundamental issues are. We know what caused them, and we know why they are constantly eroding away at the sustainability of the working class people in this country. So why are we not implementing things to fix them? I'm sick of hearing that we subsidizing somebody like Bill. I'm sick of hearing saying we extending the stipends. I'm sick of hearing saying we're gonna extend the pension holiday foolishness. Well, this is all. Listen, no country can be properly ran on social programs. I'm sorry, you're gonna run us into bankruptcy, and we're gonna still have the problem. So what happens when we don't have the resources to keep kicking the can down the road? Because you're not fixing the problem. The social program dries up in resources. Listen, the nice program that they had every year. Yes, I know a lot of people got you know benefits from it in terms of having a little work, and I'm not knocking the initiative, and I'm not saying that the initiative isn't something that wasn't needed. I'm simply saying that it should not have been the cornerstone of a political's party's campaigning mechanism. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm just tired of the foolishness. You know. So we need to get to that point. Caymanian people need to stand up now. We need to do away with the Turkey politics because because all of these social programs isn't the solution. It's a temporary fix. You remember when Jake Peretti from BBC World News did his interview here and he asked Alden McLaughlin, he said, well, here in Britain we have a social Yeah, again, no surprise there, right? This part, blacking out. our internet blacking out becoming part of the show. I wonder if people in this building running off I wonder if they got my Wi-Fi password. I wonder if I need to change that. Probably got a whole onslaught of people onto my internet. Probably what happening. No, but they told me they could see how many devices are on, so that's not a problem. So my apologies. No accusations there. Let me just go through some of the comments, see if I need to respond to any right quick before we black out again. Don't forget we're on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and watch the live stream. All right. All right, so we're gonna sign off because I'm not gonna energy for this. C3 just messaged me and told me that they got a crew coming out here to try and find out what's going on, and I just let them do their thing, and we'll pick up the show on Friday and reconvene then, and hopefully we can have a solid show without any interruptions, because now, I feel like I should have just stayed in my house and broadcast live from my own data, which never has any interruptions. So look like they doesn't want you to. Boy, Dennis, you could be right there, my brother. Trust me when I tell you, we're getting too many blackouts recently. This don't make no sense. But don't worry, we're gonna fix that problem. We shall overcome that too. Don't worry. All right. So just bear with us. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. But please remember to share our YouTube link with all of your friends that don't have Facebook, and don't forget to like and share and interact on the page. Obviously, we're starting to build back up things now. So I'm going to be scheduling a little meeting with Jordan Rivers, getting him in here, getting him a part of the whole plot so we can get going. All right. So again, enjoy the rest of your day. Please be safe on the roads. Please be safe on the roads. There's been 12 fatalities on the roads for 2022, and we're just in the 8th month of the year. So please just be careful, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on Friday. Thank you.
We got to break Sariba up. Sariba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island.